My name is Laura Flores, and
I'm Erin Van de Vanter.
yes, and today we will be presenting on the human validation process model. We'll begin our presentation with a quote by Virginia Satir, the creator of this model. I like this quote because I think it speaks to the profound nobility of our profession. The quote reads, "The family is a microcosm of the world. By knowing how to heal the family, I know how to heal the world." In helping to heal individuals and families, we are ultimately helping to heal the world, resulting in peace within, between, and among us all. First, let's learn a little bit about the theorist who developed the model, Virginia Satir. Virginia, also known as the mother of family therapy, decided when she was only 5 years old that she wanted to grow up to be a children's detective on parents. She started as a school teacher, became a social worker, and began to develop her own approach of working with families. The human validation process model grew out of Satir's mission to release the potential she saw in every family. Virginia Satir's model begins with the utmost value and respect for the uniqueness of each individual. Satir believed people are a manifestation of the life force, which is sacred. She saw people as miraculous and all worthy of love. This perspective led her to look beyond people's behavior and to connect to their pure spirit. When Virginia worked with someone, she offered her heart and soul, 100%, both verbally and non-verbally. The human validation process model is experiential in design and growth-oriented. It is a strength-based approach that focuses on the communication patterns, self-esteem, and self-worth of each individual family member. Within this model, Satir strongly emphasizes family connection. Satir believed true connection started with enhanced self-esteem. Virginia Satir's process of change is to assist individuals in raising self-esteem and move them towards being more congruent with self and others. The family's experiences within therapy result in insight and lead to change. Satir characterized family systems as either open or closed based on the system member's self-esteem level, communication, rules, and outcome. A closed system represents a troubled family dynamic, and an open system represents a nurturing family dynamic. A closed system has low self-esteem and indirect communication, which is unclear and incongruent with internal feelings. The closed system uses dysfunctional communication stances, which Erin will explain in more detail later. An open system is defined as having a high self-esteem and a direct and congruent communication. The rules are overt, flexible, and can be changed as needed for the growth of the family.
One of Satir's most impactful ideas was the idea of communication stances. This is a shorthand way of looking at how people respond when they feel emotionally threatened in one way or another. And Satir believed we learned these through our experiences in our families of origin. Satir identified 4 dysfunctional communication stances of placater, blamer, super reasonable, and irrelevant. These stances keep people from expressing their true feelings, being themselves, building self-esteem, and connecting with each other. The placater feels helpless without others, so they feel no inner sense of value. Fear of rejection leads the placater to sacrificing their needs and values for the sake of others. Blamers often feel overburdened by life, but they also want to feel significant and appreciated for their superiority. This leads them to sacrificing the needs of others for their own needs and values. Super reasonable people need to feel control over the self, others, and the situation. In order to avoid humiliation, they let their rigid rules and principles sacrifice their own and others' needs. Lastly, those with an irrelevant stance sacrifice self and others and distort the situation in order to diminish the pain, stress, and hurt they feel. This person is often afraid of pain, stress, and hurt, so they do their best to avoid it. On the other hand, congruent communication happens when a person faces stress with confidence and courage, knowing that they have the inner resources to cope effectively and make sound choices. Congruent communication considers the needs of self, others, and context, and is direct, clear, and infused with timing and tact. Members of a family unit assume roles that characterize their behavior and influence family interactions. Satir believed that the roles parents play in relation to each child were especially important because children view parents as an essential to their own survival. Sometimes parents bring a child into their relationship, creating a triadic process that can be either dysfunctional or nurturing. Nurturing triads allow children to find their place, knowing their congruent communication that they are supported and allowed to make mistakes. In addition, the parents tend to and enhance the child's self-esteem through acknowledgement and appreciation. Dysfunctional triads assume a 2-against-1 stance, like triangulation discussed in multi-generational family therapy, while nurturing triads assume a 2-for-1 stance. Now that we've gone over the key concepts of the human validation process model, Laura and I will demonstrate a common technique of this theory used in family therapy called the ingredients of an interaction and the personal iceberg. When family therapists using this theory begin to work with families, they begin to observe repetitive, dysfunctional communication. In order to slow down interactions between family members, therapists will begin asking one person at a time certain questions in order to examine the ingredients of the interaction that just happened. The point of asking these questions is to allow the other family member to experience the other member unpacking the situation. This works alongside the personal iceberg, because what someone hears or sees in an interaction is just the tip of that person. There are so many other things going on beneath the surface that influence interactions. The questions help the family member observing see the perceptions, meaning, expectations, hopes, desires, and yearnings that influence the family member unpacking the ingredients of the interaction. All right, so this is going to be a session between Jane and Paul Quest with a Satir family therapist using the unpacking the ingredients technique. They are going to talk about Jane's frustration with Paul that he's not there to help her take care of fights between the boys. So we'll begin.
I was putting the boys to bed, and I had to break up yet another fight by myself because Paul was at work. Well, I wouldn't be of much help anyway, because I never know what to do in those situations. Well, you could at least try.
So let's unpack all of that. Jane, you say that Paul is unavailable to help you. What meaning do you put to this?
He doesn't want to be with me. He doesn't want to play his part within the family.
So Paul doesn't want to play his part in the family, and how does that leave you feeling?
I feel abandoned. I feel isolated. I feel left to do everything on my own.
So you feel abandoned, isolated, left alone, and what does all of that add up to? How do you wind up feeling then?
I feel afraid that I'm going to have to do everything on my own. I feel I've brought this burden on Paul that he doesn't even want to be a part of, and so I'll have to raise the boys on my own.
Mm-hmm. So initially you were frustrated with Paul that he wasn't there to help you when the boys were having fights. He wasn't there to help you break them up. But now I hear that you really fear that Paul may not want to be the father to these boys and that you're going to be alone to do that.
Yes, all of that.